Greetings, EWBSX enjoyers. Stand back and stand by. We got...
You may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Welcome to the Gulag. If you survive, you earn your freedom.
See, this is exactly what I was talking about. There. Is that working? Okay. See, this is what I was saying. I said, I have a confession. I have autism. And occasionally that autism sneaks up and grabs me. And when it comes to like setting up everything here, I have like a very particular way that I like to have things. And I needed to incorporate the other computer for the OpenClaw agent with the extra monitor for it. And I took the monitor that was up here that I can't see with the sunglasses on because it's got something about the screen technology. So I'd have to go like this so I could see it. Now I have all my screens are all that way. I've got two curved ultra wides right here to hold all the stuff that I need to keep track of, all of it on the screen in front of me, and everything's great. But it took me like 10 hours nonstop on this today, and I haven't eaten anything. I haven't done basically anything except sit here. Because what ended up happening is once I was getting everything repositioned, I had to like move my desk around and stuff so I could get around behind it. And once I got the camera back set up, you'll notice the camera's at a little bit of a different angle. It's actually like right here for me now because I had to get rid of the tripod. It was on this tripod with the legs down underneath, and I was constantly kicking it and bumping the camera, and it was driving me insane. So I've now got a little clamp where it's clamped right here in front of me. And but once I got everything back up and going...
Welcome to the Gulag. If you survive, you earn your freedom.
Thank you, David Atlas, for the gifted sub. Superior B, Patriot spotted. Superior B got to experience his first King Pill voice chat. King Pill Discord voice chat last night.
Welcome to the Gulag.
And
if you
Nevsky,
survive, you earn your freedom.
Patriot, you guys are supporting the cause tonight. Mrs. King Pill is going to have to get her list going. Barnden, thank you for the gifted sub. Nematoder for the kicks. David Atlas and Screwed Up Nevsky gifting subs. You guys are patriots. Appreciate you. Also, thank you to Mr. Buttpoop for resubscribing while I was gone. And let's just get this out of the way here real quick.
Let's fucking go, you dirty spa-jigger niggers.
Spajigger niggers indeed. Young Goive, thank you, sir, for the 1488. Skrudimnevsky, thank you for the hypes. Appreciate all of you. Thank you for your contributions to support the cause here. Yeah, let me know while you're looking at it. The thing that kept happening was there was like these rolling bands of sort of like color that it made it look like a freaking acid trip in here. It was like the wall was kind of breathing behind me. And it was very trippy. It has something to do with the shutter rate and the low lighting. So then I had to mess around with the lighting. For whatever reason, when I just hooked it back up the way that it was before, it didn't work anymore. So that added a whole bunch of extra time. So I don't even remember what I lined up to talk about. This is like the quickest show prep ever. I finished at like, I don't know, 8:15, and then just threw a show together based on a few tabs and stuff that I'd bookmarked. Kind of approximately put it in an order, and we'll see how it goes. But feeling much better today, and not going to be waylaid in the bathroom for long periods of time. And now we're going to go for the direct facing the camera PSA vibe. Should be back to basically normal in time for the Friday Labe tomorrow, and then the Pseudolabe this weekend. He just popped in the chat just a few minutes ago and said that he has it basically finished rendering. It will be ready to go Saturday for our great and glorious Saturday. Man, all these kicks coming in. You guys are fantastic. So let me know if there's anything that seems out of place or not working or something. I can kind of see, but with the glasses on, it actually makes it a little more difficult to see if it's doing that weird rolling color thing. But hopefully everything works tonight. The mic not working, of course. I had to sacrifice some setup time and hope everything was going to work just so that I could actually get the thing put together. But got a good show. All the things are interesting that I have to talk about tonight. I just don't quite remember what all of them are, or what order they're in. We were being flooded with kicks. Borp and Nevsky here and Nematoder are trying to outdo themselves. I support this. I endorse this behavior. Let's see. I don't think there's any other housekeeping to do, so let us just get started here. First of all, what was that? Oh, I see what that is. Okay. Yeah, everything's fine. It is opening day today for what was once my favorite sport. Definitely isn't anymore, though I still retain a fondness for it. Major League Baseball. And Japan, which is 13 hours ahead of the U.S., eats breakfast when Major League Baseball is aired in the morning. This is MLB's opening day commercial for the country. And this is a reminder of why the Japs are honorary Aryans.
It's showtime! It's showtime! It's showtime!
これはただの試合ではない。動き出す合図。
さあ、バッターボックスにはファンソトが入ります。今絶好調です。
彼らはただのアスリートではない。進化を遂げたアイコンだ。どの一瞬も日常より早く駆け抜けていく。目を離すな。想像を超える瞬間を。毎朝の感動は毎朝のルーティン。考えてみればずっと前からこのクラブのメンバーだった。MLB ブレックファストクラブとでも名付けようか。毎朝このドラマは僕らの目を覚ます。
This is like watching a commercial from the 90s in spirit, but using modern, presented in a modern way. Young Goive again!
Otani knows of the Tango HH.
I don't know what the tango is, but I kind of feel like I don't want to know. I fear that. I appreciate the Asian cultures from afar. I appreciate them. I like to stand and gaze at them and then have them be where they are. And then me be where I am. But I definitely know what Otani is because Otani has come and entered my world. Thank you, Young Goive.
一度踏み込めばもう引き返せないスピード緊張感次に何が起きるどこにいてもどんな瞬間でも僕らはつながることができる
Dodger Stadium on its feet. Sasaki kicks and fires.
Fly ball to right field.
Big number!
ただ強くそのプレーは永遠に残る
In a tie game in the ninth.
Deep right field. Way back and gone. A three-run.
これはただの試合ではない
Otani's such a fucking freak. Oh, yeah. Major League Baseball will always get me in the heartstrings, no matter how closely I do or don't follow it. This one, I don't know how well you guys will be able to see this one, but I was going to include it just because. The smoke flag. Did you guys, anybody see this? Wait for it. That's freaking cool.
The N-word. Oh, look at my African American over here. Look at him.
The greatest country on earth! Oh, man. That's my country. That is America. America, the land that I'm from. The average person, says Patrick Casey, the average person shouldn't have to think much about politics. I can assure you that the people in this video getting red-pilled would only confuse them and push them further from the truth. What do you know? What do you know? Patrick Casey and I, and spoiler alert, John Doyle and I, all having the exact same opinion. Who would have guessed? We've talked about the normies. We've talked about our FanDuel Americans, the people, the grill pillars. This is what they look like.
What college you guys go to?
UTC, FAU,
Sacred Heart University.
Ohio State.
Spring break 2026. What is the game plan?
Drinking, blackout with my rock out.
If my mom is watching, I'm sorry, Mom, but I've been getting pretty drunk almost every day.
Hook up with some girls, get with as many girls as we can, and not come back with an STD.
Wake out with one person each night, that's it.
So how many guys have you made out with this week?
I've been here for about 10 days, so 10.
What were their names?
I don't remember.
Name one.
Name me one.
Name me one. What is the craziest thing you've seen at spring break?
Not that crazy. I've seen people do like cocaine off of boobs. I saw a girl like black out on the street. That was pretty exciting. Sunday.
Now, John Doyle had, I'm just gonna parrot what he said about this. He was like, obviously we don't condone this behavior. However, he made this point. He says, if you talk to any of these guys and you talk to like their grandpa about like what their grandpa was doing when they were in their late teens, their mid late teens, whatever, at this age, they're doing the exact same thing. They're getting drunk. They're going out and partying in their own way. They're going and dancing with women, and like this is a very age appropriate sort of behavior. That doesn't make it good, but it's very normal. But this is not the thrust of the video. You're going to see the contrast here in just a moment.
Most of the drag races.
You see that guy take his pants off in the middle of the club?
There's a lot of famous people down here.
Have you seen Johnny Belisario?
What?
Never mind.
Okay.
What is the wildest thing you've done down here?
Got with somebody the first night that I came down here.
Pole dancing.
2 days ago.
Stripping naked, getting in the water. You gotta say. What'd you do? You went something crazy. On the strip? Honestly. All right, on the strip? No, when you had this.
Okay, that wasn't public, but yeah, okay, that's...
Fox News is starting to make, like, hype edits, sort of. This is like boomer hype edit. The other thing Doyle said was obviously this video was made to scare the shit out of boomers. This is obviously meant to make your grandmother have a heart attack.
What issue facing America is the most
Here
important to you?
What bikini I'm gonna wear next? Obesity is terrible.
Ice. Not personally. I'm legal.
Getting a tan on the beach. That's the most important thing in my life right now.
I'm thinking about Starbucks, to be honest. I'm thinking about Starbucks. What I'm gonna get for today.
The elevators don't work. You got 43 floors. The elevators don't work.
I could take this little glass of water, drop it in the magnets. That's the end of the elevator.
What have you heard that Donald Trump has been doing recently?
Gulf of America. That's the last thing I kept up with.
We're going to war with Iraq. That's been crazy.
What do you do in Colombia? You got Maduro out? I don't with Trump, but that done.
He's like trying to sue those people for making jokes.
I don't fuck with Trump, but that nigga getting shit done. So true, Mr. African American.
About him.
600 times!
You must be happy.
I'm very happy.
The Ayatollah's dead.
What? Who? What? What is that?
Who the is Ayatollah?
I've never heard that word in my life.
Lewis, what's Ayatollah?
I haven't heard. I found out about Chuck Norris yesterday. That was more devastating to me.
He was the supreme leader of Iran.
He's dead?
Oh, yeah.
We killed him.
Oh, you did? You killed him?
Johnny.
Whoa. If you were in charge, how would you take on Iran?
Yeah, all my girls and we would all start putting belts on them.
We get a bunch of girls in bikinis, we make them run across the battlefield. All the guys are distracted, we all run in.
Look at him in his eyes, I guess. Flirt with him.
I'd blow him up.
I don't know enough about it, but I would probably wipe it out.
Drop a bomb, baby. Bomb the out of him.
I would bomb the out of him.
So true!
Heard about Venezuela.
Venezuela? Nothing.
I'm not sure.
I barely know what be going on in like Tennessee where I'm from.
That they beat us in the World Baseball Classic?
Have you heard anything else?
No.
Nothing. I have heard nothing about Venezuela.
You know, honestly, I don't know and I don't care.
Where is Venezuela?
I don't know. I'm drunk. I don't know. Venezuela? Isn't that in Spain?
Venezuela.
Go easy on the tequila.
What do you want to tell Jesse Waters? You're on his show.
That's the guy who was eating the steak, remember? It was like in front of the vegan guy. Oh, Jesse Waters.
Do you know who I am?
I do not.
Here's Johnny.
Hi, Johnny.
It's so easy to spend so much time online that you forget what normal people are like. I mean, obviously, this is a bit of an extreme example. Bunch of, drunk college students at spring break, but this is the average person is much closer to this than they are to anybody in the Labe chat, anybody in our orbit. We are the 0.1% of the entire country. Maybe even more than that. The level of detail that we are aware of, that we focus on, And you could say that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's like, this is our hobby, and this is the thing that this is our autism expression or whatever. Yeah, you could also say we're the special forces. we're the special forces in the information war. Oh.
No more games. I want Trump to issue death warrants now against all these people. I want them killed. I want them dead now.
You want to fight? Better believe you've got one. You want to enslave my spirit? No! And I'll call on God to protect me and use me however God sees fit.
This is, the average person, though, is much closer to this. So anyone who's like, oh, the midterms, Trump has cost himself the midterms. Like, anybody who's trying to project anything like that far out, trying to weigh American sentiment about things, the overwhelming majority of people are going to vote for something like, they're not just single issue voters. Because like I hear single issue voter and I think, like, I don't know, abortion or something. Like they have this one thing that they're really passionate about. But there's an even more, like, there's the people who are single issue voters. So they're like super, super plugged into everything because they track everything associated with their one single issue. And then there's the people who decide what they're going to vote for, like which vote they're going to cast, or if they're even going to vote a week before election day because something pops up on their radar and they're like, oh yeah, fuck that guy. I'm going to vote against him. Like, this is the level of thought the majority of people are putting into this, which is why public sentiment is something that is managed. It's not, there's this like everyone knows that public sentiment is something that has been crafted. This is kind of like a sort of an intuitive thing, I think, even for normies. They might be like, oh, no, I have my own independent thoughts, but like you could pretty easily walk them down the trail and explain to them why their public sentiment is manufactured. Consent is manufactured, you might say. But I don't remember where I was going with that. Manufactured consent. This is why morale and propaganda and information combat, like this is why this can be, small groups of people can have an outsized effect in that domain because the majority of people are just vibes people. They're just going to follow the vibes. So if you're relatively small, but you want to do something and you don't really know what to do, one of the things you can do is you can just contribute to the vibes. Fill the zeitgeist. And just make sure it's all pointing in the right direction. It doesn't have to be more complicated or more sophisticated than that. You don't have to wake people up. You shouldn't be trying to wake people up. Nobody should be going down onto that beach and trying to give those people lectures about political theory. If anything, you want them not voting. They have no reason to. They're like the easiest case to be like, yeah, you have no reason to vote. Why are we weighing you? Why are we evaluating you? What do you have to offer? What is your consent worth? But the next best thing you can do is just program them with the zeitgeist. Hey, things are good. Things are going well. I want things to keep going well. This seems to be the thing associated with things going well, so let's have things keep going well. There, now I'm off to think about whatever other thing. But if you seed the zeitgeist with everything's chaos, it's all out of control, the people who are in charge are either corrupt or incompetent, and nobody knows what they're doing, and we're all going to die, and we're at the, like, everyone's going to be like, all right, just give me something different. Whatever this is, I don't like it. Let's not keep going that direction. Let's try something different. They don't have any concept of the stakes of any of this stuff. They're not following. They're not clued in like this. And I don't say that to be denigrating to them. In many ways, it's like, would that I could be that. And just, whew. But no, I have been, as I said, I have autism. And so I have to, I'm compelled. I don't even have any sort of lead in for this. I put the Declaration of Independence through the LinkedIn slop generator. Big news we're officially pivoting. When the current ROI on a partnership no longer scales and the synergy is gone, true thought leaders know it's time to disrupt the status quo. To maintain our competitive advantage and align with the laws of nature's CEO, we're announcing a strategic decoupling to pursue a more sovereign value proposition. Here's our core mission statement. All stakeholders are created equal. Everyone has unalienable KPIs: life, liberty, and the pursuit of high-growth happiness. Governments are basically service providers. They only have a mandate if they have user buy-in. When a leadership team stops delivering on these deliverables, the community has the right to sunset that model and bootstrap a new one. Look, we're not about pivoting for light or transient reasons. We've been grinding through a legacy system that just isn't agile. But after a long series of blockers and non-consensual acquisitions, it's clear the current King of Great Britain brand is a total mismatch for our culture. It's giving absolute tyranny. Check the receipts. He's ghosting our most important legal updates. He's bottlenecking urgent workflows. He's hosting offsites in the middle of nowhere just to exhaust the team. He's literally eating out our substance, not a vibe. He's scaling up standing armies without budget approval. We've tried to jump on a call. We've sent the per my last email follow-ups. We've appealed to our British colleagues for some cross-functional empathy, but they've been totally unresponsive. So we're leaning into the necessity of this separation. We're treating them like any other market competitor. Enemies in war, but open to networking in peace. Therefore, as the representatives of the USA, we're officially launching our new venture, the United Colonies, Inc., Independent States. We are absolved from all legacy crown contracts, fully empowered to scale war, negotiate M&As, and establish global commerce. 100% independent. We're all in on this, betting our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred personal brands on this launch. Hashtag independence. Hashtag disruption. Hashtag leadership. Hashtag new beginnings. Hashtag sovereignty. Hashtag growth mindset. So true. So true, LinkedIn slop generator. All right, now for something that's hopefully a little more substantive. If you guys listened to the last Labe, the last hour or so of the last Labe, you might recall me going through this big, long diatribe of me flogging the clanker and forcing the clanker to tell me a story. And at the end of it, I said, I told it, okay, now write a long essay. I said, write a long essay telling the story we've unpacked here from beginning to end. Don't just summarize each talking point. Weave the whole thing together into one comprehensive narrative for a fresh set of eyes looking at it for the first time. So, that's very true, Isaac. That's very true. Maybe a little something there. So basically, I'm looking at the imperial cycles from Rome to Britain to America, and the way that there's kind of a generation progression there, and the relationships between them and the characteristics of each empire, each imperial system, like the base principles that organize it. Not all empires are created equal. And the way that each successive empire took something from the original one, but then added their own unique spin on it, basically. And so Rome, the Roman imperial model was basically scaling human civilizational capacity from city-state to continent level. And then, or approximately continent level. Then Britain, what that ended up being their undoing, because it was like the land wars and getting overextended and the sheer resources required to sustain a big, broad land empire like that. That ultimately was one of the major undoings. Obviously, there are many podcasts that exist to describe all the different contributory causes to the fall of the Roman Empire. So I'm not trying to say that that's the only thing, but just speaking in broad terms here. Then Britain was the human species in pursuit of its imperial instinct, now scaling from the continent to from continental level to oceanic level. So they conquered the oceans, they conquered the seas, which previously was kind of like the great unknown. It was kind of concurrent with the emergence of the British Empire through the nascent stages of the British Empire. circumnavigating the world and actually going and seeing, like, going to the ends of the earth was still a relatively new thing. So there existed this sense of frontier to them that doesn't to us. Like, the closest approximation would probably be space, kind of. But we even know more about space. I'll let the flat earthers get real worked up here for a second. We know more about space than Europeans knew about friggin' South America or like Australia or whatever in the 1400s. So now America is on the imperial ascent, crossing over with Britain's imperial descent, and it is. Fundamentally, it's originally British in character to a large extent, but then I have this kind of working hypothesis that America is actually not, to say America is an Anglo nation is not completely accurate, that America actually has retained much more Latin sympathies and temperament that sets it apart from the Anglo typology itself. So yeah, that's kind of the background to what was, I was poking around at this and digging through it. We talked about this for a while on the voice chat the other night, and what happens is the voice chat stays in the voice chat. So if you were there, you were there. If you weren't, then that conversation is lost to history. So here is Grok's essay now, summarizing everything that I flogged out of it. In the long arc of human empires, where each great power rises like a new generation claiming its birthright, the story of America unfolds not as a sudden rupture, but as the latest chapter in a millennial rhythm that stretches from the ancient Mediterranean to the modern Atlantic. This is the tale of how sovereign assertion and productive focus beget transcendence, only for elite infiltration and foreign entanglements to invite senescence, until a vigorous successor reclaims the core, hybridizes the best of its forebears, and scales power to a new horizon. At the heart of it all stands the Monroe Doctrine of 1823. Not merely a policy paper, but the first clear declaration of a distinct American imperial character. The Western Hemisphere as an inviolable sphere of sovereign production, forever closed to the meddling of old European empires. The young United States had already begun carving this character in the fires of revolution. In 1776, the colonies severed ties with Britain, rejecting the parent empire's late-stage web of taxes, trade controls, and continental alliances. The Louisiana Purchase of 1803 doubled the Republic's productive heartland overnight, turning French colonial remnants into American farmland and river highways. The War of 1812 tested that independence against British naval might once more, proving that sovereignty required vigilance. By 1823, with Latin America shedding Spanish and Portuguese chains, President James Monroe drew a line in the ocean. No more European colonization or political systems in the Americas. The doctrine was aimed squarely at the old empires, Spain, France, Britain, and especially Russia, whose 1821 ukase, never seen that word before, had claimed Pacific Northwest waters and threatened to extend its reach southward from Alaska. China, distant and inwardly focused under the Qing, never entered the calculus. Here was the pattern's first beat. Europe as the recurring antagonist, forever probing for division or dependency, while America thrived when it turned inward. That rhythm deepened in the Civil War of 1861. Britain and France covertly backed the Confederacy, hoping to split the Republic and reclaim economic leverage over a fractured continent. Russia, by contrast, sent its fleet to American ports in a show of support for the Union, echoing the doctrine's logic that shared resistance to European monarchies could align distant powers. The war's end unleashed a surge of industrialization in the late 1800s, turning factories, railroads, and steel mills into engines of unmatched wealth. By the early 1900s, Theodore Roosevelt could reassert the Monroe Doctrine as a corollary. The United States would police its own hemisphere, intervening where necessary to forestall European excuses for involvement. 2 world wars pulled America back across the Atlantic despite isolationist instincts, yet even then the pattern held. Post-1945, the Marshall Plan rebuilt Europe but spawned the eurodollar market, tying U.S. currency to European finance. France's rush to redeem dollars for gold forced the 1971 closure of the gold window. London's LIBOR later exerted quiet control over American interest rates. Each step entangled the productive core in the very dependency the doctrine had once warned against. By the late 20th century and into the present, the cycle crested. A 1963 assassination removed a president who had begun questioning endless foreign adventures. Europe, still entangled in its own rivalries, now escalates conflict with Russia, while America, under new leadership, seeks withdrawal and a fresh Monroe reassertion. The observer who knows only this timeline sees the obvious trajectory. Europe is the persistent underminer, using wars, covert divisions, and financial snares to sap American strength. Russia is the occasional pragmatic counterweight, preserving U.S. unity. And America flourishing precisely when it enforces hemispheric boundaries. Elite infiltration has long served as the internal vector for these forces. Loyalist merchants in the Revolution, New England Federalists plotting at Hartford in 1814, Copperheads undermining the Union, pre-World War I bankers and intellectuals pushing Anglo-American alignment, and later transatlantic networks like Bilderberg weaving cosmopolitan ties. In modern garb, policies that appear to maximize immigration, expand voting access, constrain domestic energy and industry, and balloon social services carry the aggregate effect of straining resources, diluting cohesion, and fostering dependency. Precisely the outcomes an outside power bent on weakening sovereignty would pursue. A neutral eye, focused solely on logical impacts rather than stated intentions, cannot ignore how neatly these fit the historical cycle of reversal whenever American assertion gains ground. Yet this is no mere national saga. It is the latest movement in an imperial symphony spanning centuries. Rome first scaled the ancient world, taking the self-governing Greek city-state, hybridizing its republican virtues and legal order with native Latin discipline and engineering, and forging a continent-spanning system of roads, law, and production. Its senescence came through barbarian generals, eastern financial dependencies, demographic dilution, and endless frontier wars, until the western core fragmented. Britain, on the distant periphery, inherited selectively, grafting Roman codified law, infrastructure genius, and civilizing mission onto its Anglo-Saxon insular core of maritime instinct and common law liberty. It rejected the continental land empire model that had doomed Rome and its immediate successors, Holy Roman, Napoleonic, Spanish, and French, building instead a transcontinental oceanic system. Global reach was never foundational, it was a tool to secure the home island's productive independence against European rivals. Britain's empire peaked when run by and for Britons. Naval choke points, protected trade, internal industry. Senescence arrived exactly as it de-Britishized. Cosmopolitan elites, colonial troops in European wars, City of London open to foreign finance, the metropole's demographic and cultural core diluted. The empire dissolved not from external conquest, but from loss of its own sovereign character. Thank you for the super chat over on Rumble, Nevsky. He says, blessed synaxis of Holy Archangel Gabriel. Okay, where was I here? Okay, the empire dissolved not from external conquest, but from loss of its own sovereign character. America, the grandson in this lineage, blends both antecedents with affectionate selectivity. It cherishes Rome's republican productive order, the Senate, civic virtue, infrastructure, fear of tyranny, while viewing Britain's late-stage globalism with the healthy opposition of a son to a father's accumulated flaws. The result is a hybrid empire now entering its energetic adolescence, reviving the Hamiltonian American system of tariffs, national banking, internal improvements, and energy dominance. Scaling beyond Britain's oceanic reach, America consolidates the entire Western Hemisphere as its unbreakable productive heartland, then influences the globe by demonstration rather than direct rule. No longer the manager of everyone's alliances, it becomes the exemplar of sovereign production. Other nations, seeing rapid wealth, cohesion, and technological edge, adopt parallel systems voluntarily. The world order shifts from one hyper-financialized globe to a mosaic of strong, self-contained producers, each enforcing its own Monroe-style boundaries, coexisting under the quiet prestige of the American example. Now, I'll pause here to say that this is a like I set this up to produce this intentionally. This is kind of like a hypothetical. How would you say it? It's like a hypothetical history being told from the future of the emergence of the American empire now. So it's kind of like going into the future and pretending I'm a historian and writing what's happening right now from that lens, looking for that sort of broad millennial imperial pattern and trying to deduce from that, from what we've seen of the relationship between Britain and Rome and what we're kind of seeing about the relationship between America and Britain, is this could be the trajectory. Now, clearly, America is not perfect, and like every other, your enemy gets a vote. So, like, this is the idealistic upshot. Clearly, it won't actually be that, but directionally, I'm trying to pick out what the future American empire's distinct characteristics are going to be. Inheriting the imperial mantle now, America confronts the old imperial properties, Europe, the Middle East, and East Asian flashpoints, not as permanent burdens, but as problems to be solved in keeping with her character. She cannot abandon them. Chaos there would rebound across oceans. Nor can she manage them forever. That path repeats senescence. Instead, her goal is minimum viable stability that enables maximum disengagement. In Europe, she brokers settlements that end resource-draining proxy wars, then steps back so the old metropole can build its own sovereign productive bloc. Tariffs, internal energy, defense autonomy, free of American subsidies. In the Middle East, selective deterrence secures energy flows without occupation. Local regimes are incentivized toward production-first governance until the region becomes a reliable supplier node, not an American-managed quagmire. In East Asia, forward naval presence deters disruption, while nearshoring and domestic manufacturing render supply chains resilient. Regional states are shown the superiority of internal focus over rival alignments. Across every hotspot, the imperative is conversion. Turn entanglements into self-ordering sovereign producers that no longer demand American blood or treasure. Success is measured not by bases or treaties, but by the degree to which former trouble spots fade into the background, allowing the hemispheric core to surge. And part of the reason why I want to try to pick out the character, the defining characteristics of this emergent American empire in advance, is because these sorts of civilizational level cycles are moved through forces that are much greater than individual people. These are the great men. The people who are identified as the great men are the men who were moved by a spirit, a particular spirit that they embodied. So it's not like this is what's happening with Trump, in my view, is that Trump is embodying the future spirit of the American empire. And he's trying to build that American empire in his image, the way that he would build an empire. And it just so happens that he is the distillation of, warts and all, he is the distillation of the American personality. He is like a meme of America. If you could meme America and put it into one person, it would be Donald Trump. So when you're evaluating the relative potential for success with certain things and the extent to which certain trends are going to stick, you have to keep this in the back of your mind, that some of these trends are going to stick not because Trump started them, but because he was the vehicle for them, but they pre-existed him. They were already there. They were already moving. And this is much greater than, humanity ultimately, in the face of gigantic civilizational level trends like this, tends to just slide right into alignment with it and just get carried right along. Thus, the rhythm completes another cycle. Rome scaled city-state to continent. Britain scaled continent to oceans. America scales oceanic reach to hemispheric plus, global by example. In her puberty revival, tariffs rising, borders reasserted, entanglements shed, she sheds the parents' cosmopolitan accretions and reclaims the grandparents' Republican productive core. The United States does not seek to rule the world, it seeks to render the world manageable by making sovereignty and production the universal standard. In that demonstration lies its true transcendence. The old European forces recede, Russia finds transactional alignment where interests overlap, and the millennial ascent resumes. Not through conquest, but through the quiet, relentless proof that a focused, sovereign people, unburdened by inherited dependencies, will always outproduce and outlast those who chase entanglement. The story is not ending, it's only beginning its next vigorous chapter. So, I think that it's like the United States, the form of government that the United States established was a unique and original form of government. The American system of political economy, as such, is a unique contribution, a unique characteristic brought forth by the American spirit. It's implementation of it. It's something that is just so proper to America. It's built heavily on the previous British model because America was a British colony. The early Americans were, by and large, British, but they were a particular type of, or more broadly, of Anglo stock. They were a particular type of it because of the selection effects that carried them across to America. And then America, like physical places, have their own characteristics, their own spirits that begin to possess you as you are there in those places. It changes you to be there. And so the longer that America and Europe have been, the Americans and Europeans have been physically separate from one another, the more their ethnoses, I guess, have been diverging from one another. And so I think it's easy to get locked into just like decade-long cycles or just like thinking in terms of like a single human lifespan. But when you're zoomed all the way out at this, like to the scale where you can view millennial cycles, then the innovations that the American political system has brought to the world have been all intermingled with and weighed down and bogged down and corrupted by whatever, all these other forces as well. But there is a genuine experiment that the American system represented, and it's kind of only just begun. And it's when you take the principles of the American system of political economy and you blend that with the American personality, and then you top it off with America's geography. Big oceans on either side, like overwhelming dominant power on the continent, with like an incredibly diverse continent that can produce just about anything. We're one of the few nations that it wouldn't be fun, it wouldn't be comfortable, but we could be legitimately autarkic. We could sustain ourselves. It'd be a much lower standard of living for us than we have now, but it would be higher than anybody else would have. So, America has this unique geography, this unique personal temperament, and there's a unique political system and economic system and a hybridization of them that were legitimate innovations brought to bear just over the past couple of centuries, which is, again, on this time scale, is a relatively short period of time. So I think what we're looking at in America as an emergent empire and this tendency, this Monroe Doctrine assertion and then reassertion and then reassertion and this cyclical pattern of America becoming very insular and closed off and leaning into production. Every time that happens, there's a massive productivity and wealth explosion. And the rest of the world just gets pulled along with it. And so I think we're on the cusp of that once more. Okay. Now, a couple of Patriot reports. First one here is these are I'll just play this for you. Very first one, date. Must have been about 2012 or so. Chuck Norris and his wife Gina warn of 1,000 years of darkness if Obama wins in 2012. R.I.P. Chuck.
Hi, I'm Chuck Norris, and this is my wife Gina. We are here to talk about a growing concern we all share. If we look to history, our great country and freedom are under attack. We're at a tipping point, and quite possibly our country as we know it may be lost forever if we don't change the course our country is headed.
With our country at a crossroads, Chuck and I have asked ourselves what we can be doing to help support this great country we're blessed to live in, and how we can encourage our like-minded American brothers and sisters to unite and let their voices be heard. It is estimated that in the 2008 election, 30 million evangelical Christians stayed home on voting day, and Obama won the election by 10 million votes.
We know you love your family and your freedom as much as Gina and I do. And it is because of that we can no longer sit quietly or stand on the sidelines and watch our country go the way of socialism or something much worse.
Our only hope is for each of us to make sure we have not only registered to vote in the primary and the general elections for 2012, but to make sure our voices will be heard by casting our vote on Election Day.
As Edmund Burke said, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men and women do nothing. Our great president, Ronald Reagan, said, freedom is never
Chuck
more than
Norris
one
citing
generation
Edmund
away
Burke.
from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same.
President Reagan went on to say that you and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We will preserve for our children this last best hope for man on earth, or we will sentence them to take the first step into 1,000 years of darkness. If we fail, at least let our children and our children's children say of us, we justified our brief moment here. We did all that could be done.
Please stand with us. Let's unite for God and country, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. See you at the polls. Thank you.
It's like an entirely new, or entirely different world. It's wild to see that. Pass it on in the bloodstream. Yeah. Yep. So I just got logged out of Kick for some reason. So I'm not sure. I'm trying to get logged back in here, but it's just loading and loading and loading and loading. Unknown error, please try again. So I don't know. Okay, I guess the comments are still showing up on the screen. I didn't know for sure if they would. Let me try this one more time. Yeah, Kick's being a dick tonight. All right, well, now it says my username or password is wrong. No, it's not. All right, well, if it's happening to you guys as well, then whatever. I guess I'll just keep going and check back in on it periodically. You can also go over to Rumble if you want. Looks like the chat is working on Rumble tonight. So if you guys want to go over there to live chat or to watch, if you're having a hard time with Kick, then that's the other option. All right, another Patriot story. This one is about our president. Rick Harrison says President Trump's apology.
Most memorable time you've ever had with Trump?
When he called me up and apologized to me.
For what?
This is in 2018. He's having a rally here in town for a guy running for Congress, someone running for Congress and Senate, and they wanted me to announce him at the rally. So I show up with my son Jake and my daughter Serena. White House staff, hey Rick, how's it going? Like, come on this way. And we go to backstage, and like Secret Service goes, he's not on the list. And they're going like, but it's Rick Harrison. His friend's like, not on the list. Doesn't matter. And I'm literally trying to call like a U.S. senator and some other people, you know, some congressmen. I can't get a hold of anybody. Secret Service throws me into the public and I am getting mobbed. And we had to leave. We could not stay there. So we ended up driving home. I dropped Jake off. I'm so pissed off. I'm going to the bar. I get like a block from the house, and then like Senator Heller's number pops up on my truck. I'm like, and like Senator Heller knows I have no filter, so the first words out of his mouth is like, Rick, before you say a word, the President of the United States would like to talk to you. And the first words out of Trump's mouth were, Rick, I am really sorry. This is all my fault. Because
how is that? How is that for leadership?
Rick, I am really sorry. This is all my fault. Because my White House staff, they work for me. They screwed up. That makes it my fault. I'm sorry. You know, they should have informed the Secret Service. So I'm sorry. Will you please come back down to the convention center? We'll try and make this happen. And you're not going to tell the President of the United States no. So I turn around, go back to the house, grab my son Jake. Says, the President wants us to go to the convention center. Where do we get there? So, but it was funny. So we're driving down there, and then I got a weird phone number pop up on my truck there. And I got like, some guy goes like, this is such and such with the Secret Service in D.C. I have the Secret Service guy at Vegas on location. We have the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police under sheriff, and all these people are on the phone. The big guy says, get you to the convention center. Where are you at? What are you driving? I'm saying, when I'm driving a gray Raptor, I'm going down Desert Ed right now. He goes like, where you at? I'm going like, I'm right at Durango. When you get to Decatur, whether the lights red or green, stop, flash your headlights. So we literally, the light is green. We got people honking at me. I stop, and all of a sudden, like 8 cop cars that come out of nowhere. I get a phone call, follow us. And I got my son there going like, Dad, who do you know? I'm like, I guess I'm kind of important. And they got us to the convention center. My son got his picture with the president.
It's my fault. My people work for me. They did something wrong. It's my fault. I got to make it up to you. And boy, did he make it up to him. Imagine pulling up to the intersection and like it's a green light and you're like, well, they told me to stop, so I guess I'll just sit here. Everyone's like, hey, fucking go. And all of a sudden, whoop, whoop, vroom. And you just carve a path through the traffic. Oh, that would be so freaking cool. This is, does this look to you like a guy who is super stressed out? Pub Wanghalf said, this is Donald Trump looking for the next country to bomb. Just you. So Doug Burgum, Interior Secretary, says that he brought back $100 million worth of physical gold from his visit to Venezuela. Logan Dobson said, Don Burgum is returned from the New World with much treasure for the empire. See how this sort of stuff just keeps happening? It's like other people in just various different ways keep treating Trump like he's essentially an emperor. You have to go bring gifts. You have to pay your respects. You're what do you say, like accommodative and respectful and everything to him. You say please. Pristine theatrics. Yeah, no kidding. And so then during their big cabinet meeting, Doug Burgum is talking about Venezuela, and he said this, and then Trump said this.
I literally think they're going to put up a statue to President Trump, and it's not a political statement, it's an actual thing.
So. That would be a great honor.
No, because it's like they view President Trump like... That flows to American refineries on the Gulf Coast, lowering the price of gas in America. So it's a...
Forget that. When are they going to do the statue? The hell with
you. And the point, there was. That point came right after that.
The hell with you.
God, I love this man. So, Zero Hedge reports that U.S. crude imports from Venezuela have jumped to their highest since 2019. And this guy says, wow, Trump is really lucky to have regime changed that hostile neighbor who held all that oil just before going to war with Iran. So lucky. So lucky. Yeah, just war was forced upon him. Totally, they're just like desperate, scrambling for strategies, trying to figure out what to do about it. But he just so happened to regime change the hostile neighbor with all the oil just before it happened. So a few of you guys sent this one to me from 10 Delta. It says 3 weeks ago, I argued the U.S. goal in Iran is to seize the global oil spigot. Venezuela in January, Iran in February. Neutralize every supply channel outside the dollar system within 90 days. Achieve a compliant successor government and complete energy dominance. The oil thesis was the obvious layer. However, when you zoom out and view the last 4 years as a single sequence, rather than isolated geopolitical events, the architecture of the grander U.S. plan becomes visible. Plan? Plan? Who's talking about plans? First was Europe, which laid the groundwork. The Ukraine conflict provided the justification for sanctions that collapsed Russian pipeline gas from 150 billion cubic meters to 40. Then Nord Stream was destroyed, which rewired the entire European energy system permanently. The U.S. went from supplying 28% of Europe's LNG in 2021 to 58% by 2025, exporting a record 101 million, is that metric tons? MT? Suddenly I can't think of what it's supposed to be. Anyways, the first country in history to break 100 MT. Europe was transformed from a customer with options into a captive market now purchasing its survival in USD. Second was Syria. The fall of Assad severed the critical node connecting China's Belt and Road Initiative to the Mediterranean. The trilateral railway linking Iran, Iraq, and Syria, designed to bypass Western maritime choke points, was completely destroyed. This isolated Iran geographically and cleared the path for what came next. Third was Venezuela. In January, the U.S. effectively took control of the world's largest heavy crude reserves. The U.S. Gulf Coast has the most advanced refining complex on Earth, specifically built for heavy sour crude. Phillips 66, Valero, and the rest are now positioned to process hundreds of thousands of barrels of Venezuelan crude daily. The U.S. captured a massive strategic reserve and solidified its position as the dominant exporter of refined petroleum products, an industry worth $110 billion in 2025 alone. Venezuela and Iran were the two major oil supply channels that existed outside the dollar system. Both produce heavy crude sold primarily to China and evaded U.S. financial supervision. Both now being neutralized within 90 days, which leads us to, fourth, is Iran and the Middle East energy shock. Israel struck Iran's South Pars gas field, the world's largest natural gas reservoir. Iran retaliated against Qatar's Ras Laffan, the single largest LNG facility on Earth, responsible for a fifth of global supply. Qatar Energy's own assessment is that 17% of export capacity is gone, and recovery will take up to 5 years. The Strait of Hormuz is closed, European gas prices spiked 70%, Asian spot prices doubled. The only remaining scaled supplier? The United States. If Iran falls, and a successor government is installed that the U.S. controls or influences, the Delcy model described weeks ago, that'd be Delcy Rodriguez from Venezuela, then roughly 40 to 45 million barrels per day of global production out of 103 million is effectively under U.S. control. OPEC becomes irrelevant because the U.S. coalition is now the marginal producer. Now add the gas dimension, and it goes beyond oil. This war is solidifying the petrodollar system as it evolves into a hybrid petro/LNG dollar. The old system was built on Saudi crude priced in USD. The new system is built on American crude plus American gas from the Gulf Coast, with no alternative supplier of comparable scale. The dependency is deeper because LNG infrastructure requires long-term contracts and regasification terminals that lock buyers into supply relationships for decades. Europe and the Pacific allies, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, etc., cannot pivot away as there is nowhere left to pivot to. They are now locked into the U.S. energy system. The market confirms this. DXY went from 96 to 101. Gold down about 20% from its January all-time high. Bitcoin down 20% on the year. Brent above 100. European and Asian institutions are liquidating precious metals and crypto to buy dollars because they need dollars to buy the only remaining scaled energy supply. The world is selling its gold to buy American energy in American currency. The dollar is now being weaponized through energy dependency. The structural repricing is happening regardless of how the conflict resolves. But the U.S. grand strategy goes deeper. Artificial intelligence is a physical industry. It runs on power and chips. Data centers require massive uninterrupted baseload electricity primarily provided by natural gas. Semiconductor fabrication requires helium and rare earths. By choking the Strait of Hormuz and crippling Middle Eastern LNG and helium production, the U.S. is systematically degrading China's ability to power its data centers and fabricate semiconductors at scale. The U.S. is energy self-sufficient, especially with newly captured Venezuelan reserves and expanding Gulf Coast capacity running on domestic gas. On the other hand, China is import dependent, and every jewel it imports effectively now transits choke points the U.S. Navy controls. Iran was the Belt and Road's overland energy bypass, the corridor that allowed China to mitigate the Malacca trap. With Iran neutralized, that corridor is severed. China faces a world where its compute infrastructure competes for scraps on a depleted global LNG market, while American data centers run at full capacity on domestic energy. Russia is next in the sequence. A post-war Iran reopening under U.S. influence competes directly with Russia for the same refineries in China and India at lower cost. Iran's production costs are lower. Russia loses its last structural advantage in heavy crude and its economic lifeline. Additionally, under the Iran war cover, Ukraine has been opportunistically destroying Russian energy infrastructure, and all signs point toward Russia being at the end of the line. The message from Washington becomes very simple. We dismantled 2 regimes in 3 months. Your economy is about to get crushed. Sign the Ukraine deal. I think that Russia is much more. Russia is benefiting just as much. Well, not just as much, but Russia is benefiting significantly from this happening, and they're paying a price for that for sure. But that's essentially a price that they're willing to pay, given the other available alternatives. And I should qualify, obviously, Russia is not a single monolithic entity. There are various different factions in there, and some of them are willing to pay that, and others aren't. Okay, hold on just a sec here. I am trying to get logged back in, and it's finally asking me for the 2FA code, so maybe I'm actually going to get in here. Oh, there it is. Ah, excellent. Oh, something goes wrong. Jeez, holy crap. It just flashed like 3 or 4 different pages in a row. It didn't work, and then it loaded the dashboard, and then it went to an error screen, and then it went back to the dashboard, and then it went to an error screen again. So, Kick is all sorts of fucked up tonight. Well, hopefully people are still watching. We'll see. There's this little face blinking at me now. There's Slutty Milk. He's back. Are you guys able to listen to the show, but you just can't log in to comment? Is that what's happening for you? Because I see the chat is still popping up, which surprises me because the little program that I'm using draws from the chat being open. But it's apparently still working. Lurch says it's working for him. Yeah, when I reload the page... Oh, here we go. Is it going to work now? Creator dashboard. Open. No, every time I open the creator dashboard, it just crashes out in 404s on me. Okay, yeah. So there's people that are commenting over on Kick. It's showing up on... Okay, yeah, it is. It is showing up there. All right. Then Trump sits down with Xi holding every card. Complete energy dominance, the hybrid petro/LNG dollar fortified, Iran cleared, Russia cornered, and China facing the Malacca trap fully closed with no remaining energy bypass. Israel and the GCC are absorbing the kinetic cost of a conflict whose primary beneficiary, counter to the mainstream narrative, is actually America first. You hear that? Israel and the GCC are absorbing the kinetic cost of a conflict whose primary beneficiary, counter to the mainstream narrative, is actually America first. Qatar offline for 5 years reprices the entire global gas market in favor of U.S. exporters for the remainder of the decade. The Gulf states face years of rebuilding. Europe faces its second energy crisis in 4 years. Sure, the average American might face temporary moderate inflation and higher gas prices, but if you're the architect of the U.S. empire and you view the rise of China and Chinese ASI as an existential winner takes all scenario, the collateral damage is acceptable cost. Whoever controls the energy corridors controls the monetary system. Whoever controls the monetary system and the energy supply simultaneously controls the compute infrastructure that determines which civilization builds ASI first. The U.S. is seizing all three. Craig Fuller over at Freight Alley says, "You are not bullish enough." The trucking market is an 11 out of 10 right now, with some of the strongest charts since COVID. The resurgence of the U.S. industrial economy and manufacturing renaissance is real. Is real.
I've got bad news for you. You're Jewish.
Along with tightening capacity, I told Bloomberg Open Interest that I am an 11 out of 10 about how bullish the signals are in domestic freight. This dude is a freaking patriot. And let's give this a listen.
Exports, Ryan Peterson on Bloomberg Surveillance. Shipping disruptions are building in the Strait of Hormuz, slowing vessel traffic. I mean, obviously it's stopped, right, for the most part. Trucking rates are climbing as capacity tightens. What does that mean for global supply chains beyond the initial shock? Let's talk to Craig Fuller about that. He's the CEO of FreightWaves, a company that provides real-time data on freight demand, pricing, and capacity across the global logistics market. And Craig, I mean, obviously we're seeing diesel prices at well over $5 across the national average. So we're going to see a shock for today, but how long does that continue? I mean, say we declared mission accomplished and prices came down to relatively normal places, would you still have a supply chain problem?
Well, I think it depends on what you're actually talking about. Domestically, we don't have quote-unquote supply chain problems. We have higher costs due to the fact that oil and natural gas and petrochemical pricing has been readdressed. We've seen reports of companies taking significant increases in anything derived from petroleum. It's an inflation shock or a cost shock. It's not a supply chain shock in the domestic economy. What's interesting is actually what's happening in Hormuz and what's happening in the Middle East is a different issue than what we're seeing in the U.S. domestic economy, because it is absolutely roaring right now. We're seeing some of the most aggressive freight charts that I've seen really since COVID. Some of the most bullish indicators and bullish flags that we've seen in many years is happening in the freight market. And that setup existed before Hormuz. And actually what's interesting about it is, despite all of the noise, we're actually seeing freight demand firm up and increase, not decrease, regardless of what we're seeing in oil.
So then what exactly would be the tipping point at...
Just to make that clear, if oil prices are going up, then you'd think that might hurt shipping demand, because shipping costs, like one of the most fundamental costs that applies all across the supply chain, is also going up. But he's saying that what's happening is the cost of oil is going up and shipping demand is increasing.
Which there is demand destruction there, Craig, or is that not a likely outcome?
Well, I think in the domestic economy, looking at analysts have said anywhere from $130 to $170 for WTI is really the tipping point where you see demand destruction. But a number of analysts, including our own, have gone and looked at whether or not historical surges in oil prices and high short-term shocks actually hurt freight demand. And at least over the last 20 years, that's not the case. And the reason that's not the case is the U.S. produces so much of its own oil, so much of its own natural gas, that our products globally become more competitive as you have issues around the world, and it actually drives manufacturing. We're seeing it right now. The trucking data, we know this by looking at anytime you see shocks, particularly in COVID, we had a perfect lab for this. We're seeing freight demand firm up, particularly in the industrial sector. And we believe a lot of that's related to both the setup that existed before, but also the competitiveness of U.S. oil, natural gas, and petrochemicals. And we're seeing it in the portions of the country that are really indicating the industrial economy is doing quite well right now.
Forever Book says goods still have to move. Right, yeah. Goods still have to move, and there is an increasing demand for goods. And it's particularly focused on the industrial and manufacturing sector. So all these trade deals that have been done and all of the tariffs, and then navigating through those waters, and still, it's not like, some things have gone up, some things have gone down, some things have gone up and down, some things have gone down and up, some things are going up and down all the time, but everything isn't blowing up and we're not all dying. So people are sort of absorbing these shocks and starting to adapt to this new world with much more volatility. And they're beginning to capitalize on the opportunities that all of that volatility is providing. And all of those foreign investment dollars coming into the United States, plus the tax incentives for developing in the United States now, plus people starting to get their tax returns and spending on things, all of these things are beginning to come together to produce exactly what we've been predicting is coming. Not just here at the Lab, but all over. There's this whole corner of the internet has been saying, FYI, 2026 is going to be a fucking rip-roaring year economically.
That is great news to hear. And so I guess as long as we get through this spike and costs come down, there's not going to be a real problem for the logistics sector in the U.S.
We're not seeing any signs. In fact, this is the most bullish. I would argue that if you ask me on a scale of 1 to 10, am I bullish? I'm at 11 right now.
Wow.
This is the most bullish freight market we have seen. We're coming out of the Great Freight Recession, which started in March of 2022, combination of oversupply capacity and just a very sluggish industrial economy that just kept getting worse. And really starting in November of last year, we have seen substantial surges, and it has not stopped. In fact, in the last month, the last 2 weeks, we've seen firming in the industrials. And we're starting to see places like Texas that you would expect to benefit from higher oil prices also starting to really firm up. I'm as bullish as I've been. I cannot tell you how strong the freight market is right now and how strong its recovery coming out of the Great Recession is. In fact, if you looked at FedEx's report a week ago, they're also not seeing substantial slowdowns in the domestic market, and even, I would say, constructive internationally.
I wonder about the effect of the One Big Beautiful Bill, because it seemed to offer a lot of carrots to manufacturing. Is there any way that plays through in a positive way, Craig, to logistics, to shipping, to freight?
Absolutely. I think there was a lot of pent-up demand. I think last year the Liberation Day tariffs and just the noise around that actually sapped a lot of would-be investment. And we had a good setup coming into 2025 that when Liberation Day tariffs happened, I think it was just a bunch of noise. I think a lot of those investments were put on hold. We also have the data center investments, energy, and I'm not just talking about oil, but I'm talking about power centers. If you're going to build a big data center and you need power plants, you've got generators, you have a lot of copper, you have a lot of steel, you have a lot of aluminum. And I think some of the tax benefits that we've seen from the Big Beautiful Bill have encouraged companies to look at domestic sources and really ramp up production. And that's what we're seeing. And one of the...
What? The Big Beautiful Bill is incentivizing companies to look domestically for domestic suppliers? No.
Really interesting data points that I point out is we're seeing it in the flatbed part of the trucking market. And flatbed is the non-boxed, non-containerized freight. It's the stuff that you would see going down the highway where you see big rolls of copper or steel. That is, if we were having an industrial renaissance or a manufacturing surge, you would see it in the flatbed data first. And you would actually see LTL as a lagging indicator. And this is exactly what we're seeing right now, is that flatbed is surging because that's the raw materials that's going into production. And so what you would expect to see if you were seeing an industrial renaissance or a manufacturing surge, you would see it in the flatbed data, and that's exactly what we're seeing. And it's coming from the center of the country along I-35, where you have big industrial steel production, big industrial metals production, big heavy machinery, all coming from the center of the country. It's not the coast that's driving it. It is the most remarkable recovery that I've seen. Like I said, I'm an 11 right now.
Dude, I'm excited. You're getting me excited. I'm hogging this interview. I'm sorry to hog this interview, but
take it away, Matt.
What do you think about? What do you think we'll see if we waive the Jones Act for a longer period of time? It never made sense to me, right? We don't really build ships in this country. Maybe in Philly and a couple, in Missouri or something. But
John Conrad's getting really worked up now.
We constrain ourselves with this, and how would it affect shipping and logistics if we got rid of the Jones Act entirely?
Yeah, so look, 60-day, which is what the administration has issued, a 60-day reprieve of the Jones Act is not going to be profound. I don't think we're going to see a lot of rerouting of ships. It's going to give us a nice little lab to sort of see what happens short term, but I don't think it's going to have that big of an impact whatsoever. I think if we see a rewriting of the Jones Act, but it has to come not only with changing the rules, but also providing incentives. Just changing the Jones Act itself isn't going to drive, it will certainly help parts of the country with lower cost of transportation. But what we really need is a much more investment in a marine industry. I mean, one of the scary things that we've seen is that civilian supply chains are, if we're in the second Cold War, they're in the front lines. And we're seeing this in Hormuz. We've seen the Houthi attacks. If we end up in a conflict, a kinetic conflict with China, then only 35% of container flows are coming from China into the United States. Our container ships and shipping is going to be, on those front lines, it's going to be very vulnerable. And so we need domestic shipping here. We don't actually have if you look at the top 30 shipping companies, the largest U.S. flagged companies, like number 27, we're incredibly vulnerable. So the administration should be investing in driving domestic production of shipping, which will be a much more constructive outcome than just dealing with the Jones Act. Jones Act resolution and moving it is an important act for long term, but we also need a domestic marine industry to really ensure that we have our own domestic security around supply chains.
John Conrad is now standing on his chair, making chimp sounds.
Craig, this has been awesome. I wish we had more time with you. This hasn't been enough.
So that is one thing that I think from following John Conrad, I've been pretty well convinced that a lot of the big maritime agenda that Trump came in, that his administration entered with this time, has been sort of redirected and waylaid, and that'd be something that, as he's saying here, would be a very good thing to re-emphasize and double down on. I know a lot of the investment has gone toward a lot of the investment projects and development projects and stuff that I've seen have been toward like deepening channels and like bringing back retired shipping routes, domestic shipping routes, and expanding ports and all that sort of thing. So I do think that it's going to come down the line, but yes, couldn't be soon enough. Please do tip your streamer, tips.kingpill.com. It should be pinned in the chat now. I can get into the chat as an outsider, but I can't open the creator dashboard thing to see any of the other things. So, but it does seem that the kicks are working. The chat's still showing up. All seems to be well, so we're just going to continue. I tried it on Chrome as well. I'm usually in Brave, but I tried it on Chrome to see if maybe for whatever reason, I guess I could try Safari. But anyways, let's continue. Thank you, Nematoder. And thank you, Emperor Atreides. Appreciate the kicks. Mr. Zeus says, pay Matt. I ran out of money, so I need you to pay him so I win the raffle. Yeah, well, we've got a ways to go tonight. If we're going to hit that $400 mark, if we're going to get that raffle, we got to hit the $400 mark. Yeah, if you guys want Mr. Stu to have an opportunity to win some money tonight, then go to tips.kingpill.com and contribute. Make sure you're signed up at forum.kingpill.com. Okay, just another pod guy. I read a great post from him the other night, and here's another one. He says, watch this clip at least 5 times. Well, we're not going to watch it 5 times, but we will watch this clip 1 time. Here is my president talking about, everyone wants to reduce this to a simple matter of Israel, that this is what the Iran conflict is about. And it's just so silly. Hopefully you're able to gather from the show, like all the other different interests that are implicated as well. There's all the Gulf nations. There's China. There's Europe. There, like all of these things. Like Israel is a part of it, and Israel plays a role. And Israel has its own agendas, and individuals within Israel have their own agendas. But like to say that that's what's driving all of this is just completely asinine. It's normie tier political analysis. It just happens to be Jews, so it seems based. But saying that this is being the Israel's driving the bus here is just completely and utterly asinine. So here is Trump being asked about the UK and Venezuela and Iran, and here are the things that he had to say about our erstwhile allies.
Thank you. You've been really honest about how disappointed you are in Sir Keir Starmer, particularly in relation to Iran. So I'm curious about your phone calls with him, how easy they might be. And also, were you surprised by...
Are we talking about Starmer?
Yes. Yeah. And are you surprised by how weak...
I think he's a lovely man. I do. I think he's a lovely man. But I think he did something that was shocking. He didn't want to help us. And maybe in particular that country, we were the longest bond, the longest ally. Australia, too. Australia was not great. I was a little surprised by Australia. I wouldn't say anybody was great, other than the 5 countries in the Middle East. We never really had very much support. We spend trillions of dollars supporting countries, and this is Little League. This isn't the big league deal. This is sort of Little League pool for us. This was like we decimated them in a period of a week. In the first week, it was over. In the first few days, it was over. I think the Navy took us 3 days to essentially annihilated it. They weren't there. So if there's ever a big one, which I hope there's not, but if there's ever a big one, I don't think they're going to be there. And that's not fair. And we have to remember that as a country.
So he's saying us on our own, just us in Israel, we took care of this whole thing, and they're like, hey, we'll get involved. We don't need you anymore. So this was just a little thing where you wouldn't have even really been putting yourselves at risk. You have much more of a vested interest in this than we do. We're going to be the ones who are responsible for it either way. So you're the ones who really need it. Why don't you step up? Why don't you demonstrate how invested you are? Why don't you demonstrate what great allies we are?
We spend trillions of dollars protecting Europe, protecting the countries of NATO. They weren't there for us for small time. This is small time. You know what? Venezuela's a big deal, but it's not the big one. They weren't there. So what makes you think they'd be there if we needed them for something? And your prime minister was not there, as you know. He was there after we won. He said, we'd like to send some ships. I said, we already won. We don't need them anymore.
Can you explain why he was reluctant to help?
Why he what?
Why he was reluctant to help with Iran?
He didn't have to. I didn't.
No thanks, irrelevant pervert.
He didn't have to. I didn't ask him. I just said, just tell me no. I mean...
You told me no? You have the fucking balls to tell me no? Okay.
We're always going to be there. At least we were. I don't know about anymore, to be honest with you. I would have to...
We always are going to be... Well, at least we were. I don't know about anymore.
We're always going to be there. At least we were. I don't know about anymore, to be honest with you. I would have to be honest. We were always there when they needed help. We always would have been there when they needed help. I mean, think of it. We're there to protect Europe from Russia. In theory, it doesn't affect us. We have an ocean, big, fat, beautiful ocean.
Big, fat, beautiful ocean.
NATO, to protect them from Russia. But they're not there to protect us. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. I tell you, a lot of people were big NATO people. I was never big. It was okay. I got them to pay 5%. By the way, they haven't paid it yet. You know that. You know, I got them to pay 5% from 2% to 5%. They didn't pay it yet. I got them to pay up to 2% because they weren't paying the 2%. Then I got them to pay 5%, which they should be at. And we had a lot of, oh, that was great. Oh.
So they've committed to paying 5%, but haven't actually followed through on that. This is why they're getting slapped around over and over again. This is why why the administration is talking about them as our former allies.
Oh, only Trump could do it. But the problem is they haven't paid. Because if you look at the numbers, they haven't paid yet. So we were there for them, but they were not there for us. Did we need them? No. I never thought we needed them. I was more doing a test. I said, I really would love to have you come up. Bring your boats. You can sail through the beautiful Hormuz Straits, and you can protect people that are being shot at. They didn't do it. And that's small potatoes. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
So, Justin of the Pod Guy says, watch this clip at least 5 times. Well, we watched it once. You guys can go watch it again on your own. Then remember, every dollar of trade between Europe and China is funding the fastest military buildup in history with the express goal of taking Taiwan, which Europe has effectively admitted they wouldn't or straight up can't help defend. You see, this is narrative building. Don't act surprised when what comes next is a hard ultimatum. Help us against China, or we completely pull from Europe. The legal framework has already been set in place. We are at popular sentiment building in the US. Before, only geopolitical-aware Americans knew about the European free rider problem. Now everyone knows. I told you how this played out a year ago. Y'all still act like it's too fantastical even as energy arteries have been secured, dollar liquidity has been weaponized, narrative has been constructed, legal clauses have been put in place, and Gulf capital has been pre-positioned. I've been quiet lately because fog of war in Iran can go either way because it's valuable both if regime changed or if it's purposely allowed to drag on into when Trump meets Xi. Look around and ask what this has all been building towards, and then ask, what are the odds this is all random happenstance? It's probably worth going back and looking at just how much the other Gulf nations committed to the United States and how they've all doubled down on those. They've all fully backed the efforts against Iran. They're fully on board with that. And they've got their own issues with Israel. But they are all fully on board with what's happening in Iran, and they're paying the United States trillions of dollars, something like $3 trillion. And you think resolve the Iranian problem was not a conversation that was had in the course of the those trade negotiations. This is him. Oh yeah, continuing on this, talking about NATO. My president's such a clever boy. Listen to what he does here.
It's in small potatoes. That's why I'm so disappointed in NATO, because this was a test for NATO. This was a test. You can help us. You don't have to. But if you don't have, if you don't do that, we're going to remember. Just remember this in a number of months from now. Remember my statements.
Remember this a number of months from now. I wonder what he's expecting to happen a number of months from now.
They have an expression, a great expression. Never forget. Never forget.
He went there. He said the thing. The absolute sack on this man. To invoke the Holocaust. Oh, there's an expression, very great expression. Never forget. Yeah, we're never going to forget. Whew. Speaking of NATO, listen to this. Michael Levin says, this is truly insane and it should be front page news across America. Denmark secretly deployed soldiers to Greenland, prepared to blow up airport runways to stop a U.S. invasion. They brought blood supplies to treat the wounded. France, Germany, Norway, and Sweden quietly coordinated against us. This was not a drill. This was our closest allies preparing to fight Americans. Let that sink in. NATO allies. Countries whose soldiers have fought and died alongside ours for decades. They looked at this president and decided they had to prepare for the worst. Fewer allies does not make America great. It makes us more isolated. Now he's complaining about Trump. Makes us more isolated, more vulnerable, and it hands Russia and China exactly what they have always wanted. And America abandoned by its friends. They were prepared to fucking blow up runways in Greenland. And it's America that's in the wrong? Doesn't this just perfectly encapsulate the European perspective? You guys are responsible for it. You guys have way more of a vested interest in it. We're going to depend upon you to defend it anyways. And you talk about wanting to negotiate over it, and we plan to blow up runways and start shooting at you because you're going to invade or something. Peyton Alexander said, no one who believes the United States would have annexed Greenland by force belongs anywhere near power. Complete inability to understand reality. The fact that this was what the Europeans thought was going to happen should set off alarm bells. This is why you can see it all throughout the national security strategy, the national defense strategy. The American establishment is nearing univocal in their deep mistrust of Europe. This notion that Europe are a bunch of prissy free riders who like to wave their fucking welfare states in our faces, which we fund. We're the ones who pay the taxes that allow them to have these great welfare programs or whatever, the social security nets. The only reason Europe gets any sort of claim to first world status is because of the sweat of American middle-class workers. Without America, Europe would be a decimated region of warring tribes. That's what they are already. We're expected to foot the bill. We're expected to be responsible for defending Greenland with our blood and treasure on their behalf because we're allies. And Trump's like, "Hey, we're gonna strengthen our position in Greenland. Let's do a little friendly negotiating here in public." And they're like, "Oh, we're gonna get ready to kill you." The European leadership class is far and away the single group of the most demented, psychotic people on the planet. Speaking of psychotic people, how's this for a segue? People in Saudi Arabia are using Iranian Shahed drone sounds to prank each other now. Watch these guys come running out. Now, let's get you boys all hot and bothered. You ready? U.S. airstrike, northern Mosul. A-10C Thunderbolt II from 74th and 75th Squadron strafes IRGC-backed Iraqi proxies, expending much of its cannon ammo. Listen to this. Just listen to this.
لا والله رجع لهم. والسلام يا الله.
One of the greatest audio clips of all time. That motherfucker leaned on that trigger. He probably just emptied it. Just sprayed out my nicotine pouch. Trust Planstar says, I noticed there were no enemy planes or missiles. Must mean we're losing. Right. We got fucking fart hogs doing long, drawn-out strafing runs. But we're losing. Here's another one from a couple days ago. Strafing a militia base in Anbar province, Iraq.
مرة الرابعة رجع. مرة الرابعة رجع نفس الضربة نفس الطيارة. ضرب.
I can't even imagine what it would be like to hear that in person. Listen to this one. Loud as shit. And then here's the aftermath.
لا ما حتى لو انضرب. الو. هاي ضربة صاروخ. ها.
You hear that, Denmark?
ها. ايه. لا ماكو شيء.
Imagine being shot at by that. No kidding.
لا إله إلا الله يا علي. يا علي. يا علي. عبود.
They're doing this to me at work tomorrow.
يا أخوي اطلع. خلينا نفوت ما دام هذا الطيار ما جاء. مو هذا البنزين.
I can't remember if there was more.
بركض.
Hey, here you go.
تعال عبود. عبود.
I did it again. Oh, I could just listen to that all day. Give me that for study music. Unseen One says, I actually listened to Trump's first speech at the start of hostilities on February 28th with Iran, and because of that, I know the operation is going as planned and ahead of schedule. He told the American people exactly what was to come. This is what's funny to me. Like, I keep seeing people who are like really unsure about stuff, and they're like, seems like it's just, it's gotten out of control and they don't know what they're doing, and we really need to find, even the people who are, they're like, I think it'd be really good to get an off-ramp. Got to find an off-ramp here real soon. This is really dragging on. And I can't relate to it at all. I didn't even really realize this until I started hearing more and more people say that. And I'm like, I've just taken it for granted. Like, it's proceeding exactly according to what he said. Here's what he said. He told the American people the objective, quote, eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, and why there was a need for this objective. Quote, its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. End quote. Because, quote, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Trump also told the American people exactly how they were going to accomplish that objective. Quote, we are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. We're going to annihilate their navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces, and we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. Trump then explained the cost of this mission to America. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. And to the Iranian regime, quote, to the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. He also explained his hope for a permanent resolution. Quote, when we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want, so let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of destiny. So, to the members of the IRGC and the armed forces and all the police, lay down your weapons and you'll be given complete immunity, or we're going to kill all of you. To the rest of the Iranian people, we've got your back. He said right at the outset that this was a war against the IRGC. Now you can listen to the lying legacy media, the podcast idiots, or get trapped in the fog of war as Trump and the U.S. military seeks to accomplish their objectives. Or you can see that for the vast majority of actions over the last several weeks, things are going as planned, and so far, for every reaction by Iran to counter the U.S. and Israel onslaught, the U.S. and Israel military have had answers and have continued to push their advantages. As of now, things are going very well for the U.S. and Israel and very poorly for what's left of the Iranian regime. In my opinion, we are much closer to the end of the operation than the beginning. And then there was some, I saw some stuff today about Mojtaba, and I know that's like Seth Levy and Derek from Suitable Politic. They have this theory they've been kind of tossing about that Mojtaba, the son, the like one-legged, comatose, gay son, was actually the one that that basically was the one who played the Delcy Rodriguez role. Essentially, you're going to kill my father, and then I'll be the one that negotiates with you. That's something they've been speculating about. But either way, it's very clear that Trump has been working an angle to isolate segments of the Iranian power structure, get them to start negotiating and cooperating, and then back them against the rest of the uncooperative factions. And Seth Levy says, in short, Sun Tzu views internal subversion through deals with sub-leadership factions, not as a side tactic, but as one of the highest forms of strategic mastery. It perfectly embodies, quote, victorious warriors win first and then go to war, by ensuring the enemy's own structure is already crumbling before any fighting begins. And here's the quote. Worthy men who have been degraded from office, criminals who have undergone punishment, also favorite concubines who are greedy for gold, men who are aggrieved at being in subordinate positions, or who have been passed over in the distribution of posts, Others who are anxious that their side should be defeated in order that they may have a chance of displaying their ability and talents, or fickle turncoats who always want to have a foot in each boat. Officials of these several kinds should be secretly approached and bound to one's interests by means of rich presents. In this way, you will be able to find out the state of affairs in the enemy's country, ascertain the plans that are being formed against you, and moreover, disturb the harmony and create a breach between the sovereign and his ministers. Literally, just straight word for word Sun Tzu. Mimetic Sisyphus here says there's something amazing that happens to guys who get into large ideological rifts with Trump. It usually starts with a topic on which there's a conventional wisdom that Trump disagrees with. The person who holds to the conventional wisdom can't stand it. This person could be on the right or left, establishment or fringe, podcaster or politician, it doesn't seem to matter. The break shatters them in some bizarre fashion. It doesn't even really seem to matter who is actually right or wrong, they start to drift towards completely crazy town. All of a sudden, they're quoting openly hostile to America opinions. They quote Putin and China, they quote Islamic terrorists and radical left-wing agitators. I've seen former U.S. generals propping up CCP shills dispensing absurd fake geopolitical analysis. I've seen right-wing dissident podcasters plead for Obama. I've seen once respected news anchors try to pass off the hearsay of a prostitute and her criminally corrupt lawyer as bastions of truth. I've never seen anything like it. Trump has the ability to completely break some people. And Leo Abstract here says, agreed, I was saying something similar the other day in DMs. This is what he said. It's really bizarre, even in small-scale examples of people I know in my personal life, how destructive hating Trump is. Guys I know who started out not liking Trump because they thought he wasn't right-wing enough are now just left-wingers who love Iran and Palestine and hate Israel. You might think, sure, opposition to Israel is a consistent through line in their beliefs, and that's true, but they also have decided that ICE agents are terrible and killing shitlibs in the street is a huge tragedy. It's like TDS is cognitive AIDS, and once someone gets it, he loses resistance to further mind viruses as these come along. The disease progresses, and at last he ends up on hospice on an IV drip of AI slopaganda vid showing that Iran is winning. Literally many such cases. Sad. A banger! A banger from Leo Abstract. The lion. Like our president. Here's a great example. So, Captive Dreamer shares a CBS News article. CBS News article, the headline is, DOJ guts office that helps indigent immigrants obtain affordable legal aid, sources say. The Justice Department has quietly gutted a more than 60-year-old program created to ensure that low-income and indigent immigrants can receive competent and affordable legal representation. Captain Dreamer says, administration quietly chalking up some very big wins on the immigration front, this time going after the lawyers that counseled them on how to manipulate the law. And Harrison Smith says, I know, I should be celebrating those big wins that Trump is chalking up. Like how after over a year, now we won't be actively paying for illegal immigrants' legal defense. Wow, incredible, what astonishing victories. It's too much winning. And Prowler here, at Durzum _, who may or may not have a connection to the famed Appeal to Pragmatism Telegram account, says, the program has existed for 60 years, but you're upset Trump took 1 year to gut it. This kind of ungrateful, unrealistic attitude is why it's taken us decades to get anywhere. You're not doing anything to help them fix it faster. And Spurga Pieces says the slow pace is actually somewhat reassuring in that it's much more difficult to rebuild something which is thoroughly dismantled in a legal sense as opposed to canceled by executive fiat. This is where the gradual grinding pace on all of this ought to be seen as a great white pill. It means they're serious about it. They're not just making some token efforts. And if you're not following an Appeal to Pragmatism on Telegram, you're simply out of the loop. It's all there for you to see regularly. This is just one thing. There's been like 250 of these one things. Maybe more than that. It's just been relentless. With everything immigration. all different types of immigration and visas and the entire process. It's not death by 1,000 cuts, it's death by like 10 million cuts. They're cornering the entire immigration apparatus from every possible angle. And I told you this was going to happen. I told you it was coming. Trump drops the hammer on census fraud. Donald Trump says, I have instructed our Department of Commerce to immediately begin work on a new and highly accurate census based on modern-day facts and figures, and importantly, using the results and information gained from the presidential election of 2024. That's a very interesting thing to include in there. People who are in our country illegally will not be counted in the census. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And from the man himself, he's telling you what I've been telling you. Thank you, Mr. President. I have been serving faithfully.
And there's this show, King Pill, they call it King Pill. Absolutely incredible. One of the best shows. Run by a total patriot. They call him Matthew Erickstein, King of the MAGA Chuds.
That's me. My president sees me. This is what he says.
But from now until November, we're going to fight, and I'm going to personally campaign for every one of you. We're going to go to win in midterms. We're going to have even bigger majorities in the House and the Senate than we have today. Going to help all of you. Americans saw the true and craven nature of congressional Democrats during my State of the Union, and we're not going to let that happen again.
We're going to fight, and we're going to win the midterms. We're going to have even bigger majorities in the House and the Senate than we have today. Reminder that they said this like mid last year, that he was going to be treating the midterms like a presidential election and campaigning on them. Because this is one of the big things with the midterms is that there's a natural, like the big presidential elections, the people that I started off, they're aware of the big presidential elections when they happen. The kids on the beach, they know when the presidential election's happening, so they'll turn out for that because that's the easy one. It's the one big guy. But midterms are for people who are a little more clued in, a little like higher civic responsibility or just political junkies. And disproportionately, those tend to be professional class libs. They're the ones who are the most consistent, reliable voters. The Trump voter base tends to be much lower propensity. So they don't turn out for special elections, for midterm elections, the same way they do for the general elections, the presidential elections. So now, having Trump campaigning for weeks and months in advance of the midterms is going to pull it onto way more people's radar. And really, it's not quite this simple, but it's close to the higher the turnout, the more it's tilted toward Trump. Because the sorts of people who are going to be turned out as that turnout increases are disproportionately going to be the type of people who would vote for Trump. Those lower propensity people who don't like him are much less likely to vote against him. They're more likely to just not engage at all. So there's a lot that's going to change. A lot that is going to change between now and November. But I'll be here as many days as I can, presenting you the ASTROLABE. This is a short lab tonight because I had to scramble to put something together just to make sure that one was going to get out here. But I will be back tomorrow, hopefully earlier in the day, with a little more awareness of everything that's going on. I'll be back for another episode of the ASTROLABE, and make sure you guys show up on Saturday for the SaturLabe. Sudawave. He says it's already done, and from what he's told me about it, it is going to be a banger. So thank you guys for showing up for the live show. Apologies for the kick issues. I wish I could control them, but I can't. Seems as if everything on my end, in terms of the setup and everything, has all worked out well. So, yeah, major naughty list tonight, guys. Mrs. Kingpilled is she's Mrs. Kingpilled is going to go beat me when I get downstairs. She's going to flog me because I didn't bring home the bacon sufficiently. But the good news is you guys can go to tips.kingpill.com any time of day. And if you do it before a labe happens, do it between labes, then I just make sure that I get it added into the tip goal at the start, and we've got a head start toward the goal. Yeah, domestic abuse, yeah. This is why I'm a wife guy, you know? No. Exit only. Thank you, David Atlas, for the $5. You're a patriot. Appreciate you, sir. All right, everyone. Make sure you go follow the Substack. Join the King Pill Discord, kingpill.com. You're missing out if you're not in there. Greatest group of patriots I've ever known. Some of the best memeing. It's like the best combination of elite memeing with genuinely really good, insightful commentary. And everyone's all kind of looking for stuff and finding stuff on the internet, dumping it in there. I use it for show prep all the time. A great repository for white pills and for the inside look at everything else that's going on. So kingpill.com if you'd like to join up for that. And then make sure you download the EWBSX app if you enjoy the pre-show. Then there's that pre-show thing that's going for 24/7. We just tune in for the pre-show. Otherwise, it's going 24/7. So go download the EWBSX app. It is free to download. Just press play and make sure you use the banger and the stinker button, and let the cyberbully know what you think of the playlist that he's putting together for you. And I will be back tomorrow for another episode of the Astrolabe. For now, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trump-a-mania